million, hundreds of thousands of homes, more than 20,000 killed. Thousands are still under the rubble. Close to 9,000 children killed in the most brutal ways. Day after day, 1.9 million displaced, hundreds of thousands of homes destroyed. Gaza, as we know it, no longer exists. This is an annihilation. This is a genocide. The world is watching. Churches are watching. The people of Gaza are sending live images of their own execution. Maybe the world cares, but it goes on. We are asking here, could this be our fate in Bethlehem, in Ramallah, in Jenin? Is this our destiny too? We are tormented by the silence of the world. Leaders of the so-called free lined up one after the other to give the green light for this genocide against a captive population. They gave the cover. Not only did they make sure to pay the bill in advance, they veiled the truth and context, providing the political cover. This war has confirmed to us that the world does not see us as equal. Maybe it's the color of our skins. Maybe it is because we are on the wrong side of a political equation. Even our kingship in Christ did not shield us. So they say, if it takes killing 100 Palestinians to get a single Hamas militant, then so be it. We are not humans in their eyes. But in God's eyes, no one can tell us that. The hypocrisy and racism of the Western world is transparent and appalling. They always take the word of Palestinians with suspicion and qualification. No, we're not treated equally. Yet on the other side, despite a clear track record of misinformation, lies, their words are almost always deemed infallible. To our European friends, I never ever want to hear you lecture us on human rights or international law again. And I mean this. We are not white, I guess. It does not apply to us according to your own logic. In this war, the many Christians in the Western world made sure the empire has the theology needed. It is that self-defense, we were told. And I continue to ask, how is the killing of 9,000 children self-defense? How is the displacement of 1.9 million Palestinians self-defense? In the shadow of the empire, they turned the colonizer into the victim and the colonized into the aggressor. Have we forgotten that the state they talked, that state was built on the ruins of the towns and villages of those very same Gazans? Have they forgot that? We are outraged by the complicity of the church. Let it be clear, friends. Silence is complicity. And empty calls for peace without a ceasefire and end to occupation, and the shallow words of empathy without direct action, all under the banner of complicity. So here is my message. Gaza today has become the moral compass of the world. Gaza was hell before October 7th, and the world was silent. Should we be surprised at their silence now? If you are not appalled by what is happening in Gaza, if you are not shaken to your core, there is something wrong with your humanity. And if we as Christians are not outraged by the genocide, by the weaponization of the Bible to justify it, there is something wrong with our Christian witness, and we are compromising the credibility of our gospel message. If you fail to call this a genocide, it is on you. It is a sin and a darkness you willingly embrace. More than 20,000 killed. Thousands are still under the rubble. Close to 9,000 children killed in the most brutal ways. Day after day, 1.9 million displaced, hundreds of thousands of homes destroyed. Gaza, as we know it, no longer exists. This is an annihilation. This is a genocide. The world is watching. Churches are watching. The people of Gaza are sending live images of their own execution. Maybe the world cares, but it goes on. We are asking here, could this be our fate in Bethlehem, in Ramallah, in Jenin? Is this our destiny too? We are tormented by the silence of the world. Leaders of the so-called free lined up one after the other to give the green light for this genocide against a captive population. They gave the cover. Not only did they make sure to pay the bill in advance, they veiled the truth and context, providing the political cover. This war has confirmed to us that the world does not see us as equal. Maybe it's the color of our skins. Maybe it is because we are on the wrong side of a political equation. Even our kinship in Christ did not shield us. So they say, if it takes killing 100 Palestinians to get a single Hamas militant, then so be it. We are not humans in their eyes. But in God's eyes, no one can tell us that. The hypocrisy and racism of the Western world is transparent and appalling. They always take the word of Palestinians with suspicion and qualification. No, we're not treated equally. Yet on the other side, despite a clear track record of misinformation, lies, their words are almost always deemed infallible. To our European friends, I never ever want to hear you lecture us on human rights or international law again. And I mean this. We are not white, I guess. It does not apply to us according to your own logic. In this war, the many Christians in the Western world made sure the empire has the theology needed. It is that self-defense, we were told. And I continue to ask, how is the killing of 9,000 children self-defense? How is the displacement of 1.9 million Palestinians self-defense? In the shadow of the empire, they turned the colonizer into the victim and the colonized into the aggressor. Have we forgotten that the state they talked to, that state was built on the ruins of the towns and villages of those very same cousins? Have they forgot that? We are outraged by the complicity of the church. Let it be clear, friends. Silence is complicity. And empty calls for peace without a ceasefire and end to occupation, and the shallow words of empathy without direct action, all under the banner of complicity. So here is my message. Gaza today has become the moral compass of the world. Gaza was hell before October 7th, and the world was silent. Should we be surprised at their silence now? If you are not appalled by what is happening in Gaza. If you are not shaking to your core, there is something wrong with your humanity. And if we as Christians are not outraged by the genocide, by the weaponization of the Bible to justify it, there is something wrong with our Christian witness, and we are compromising the credibility of our gospel message. If you fail to call this a genocide, it is on you. It is a sin and a darkness you willingly embrace. More than 20,000 killed.
Yeah, there's a lot more to go. Remember, there's over 2 million in Gaza, and they're not going to stop until they're all dead. So he was right about one thing, the complicity of the Roman Catholic Church. So they say the Pope won't be recalling him back home anytime soon to save his life. Obviously not. Yeah. What the problem is with the Vatican, I do not know. Is that racism too, is it? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't. At one time, the Roman Catholic Church was an army, and that's a long time ago. Definitely, a couple of 1,000 years back, and that's what it was. It was a military force. Today, of course, the Roman Catholic Church. Yeah. It has no influence. It has no international powers anywhere in the world. There's nothing. The Vatican is out. And yeah, they let us see that all right by remaining silent. There's only once, twice actually, the Pope happened to mention, only in passing, but you don't see the Pope rushing off to go and visit Benjamin Netanyahu or anything, or sending any of his diplomats to talk to Benjamin Netanyahu. Strange that, isn't it? The church has got tons of diplomats, and I'm not talking about I'm not talking about priests within Roman Catholic parishes. I'm talking about top diplomats, and yeah, they do have diplomatic immunity and all that. These diplomats, the real diplomats. Why the Pope hasn't sent any over to Israel, I do not know. Strange that. It just goes to show you. But yeah, they are complicit in the murder of the Palestinians and their children. With the rest of the world by doing absolutely nothing. And that's the thing. Like the man said, and he's bang on the money. Silence is complicity. You don't want to know about it. You think, oh, it's not important to me. Yeah, well, wait until it's your turn. We'll see how you go then, yeah. And I can guarantee you the majority of people in Britain right now will be thinking, oh, no, it's not going to happen here. You don't think so, do you? No? You'll see. Zionists, they stop at nothing to do anything they want to do. That's the thing. And so long as people are dumb enough to vote Zionists into governments and things like that through general elections, whether it be in Britain or any other country, you're all off your nuts. Yeah. I mean, if people didn't vote these politicians into government in the first place, then they wouldn't be there, would they? Oh yes, probably in Britain they would, because they would force themselves on the general public, and the general public would just sit there like the people that the general public in Britain are, wouldn't they? So even this guy knows that eventually Bethlehem is not going to be there. Everything of the Holy Land's being erased. Totally. No Bethlehem. Don't know what it'll do to the crib that Jesus was meant to have been born in. The Muslims, they protected that for thousands of years and looked after all of the Holy Land being like that. Islam. Not Roman Catholicism or any bollocks like that. Islam. Yeah. It's very strange, though, through all the racism from the white Europeans and, the white English, who are racist, they actually accepted an Arab as their son of God. But they still had to paint him white, though, didn't they? That's a contradiction, that, by the way. Even the racists who believe in God believe in Jesus, who was an Arab, and all the racists are Arab haters. Work that one out. But they can't even work it out themselves. It hasn't even dawned on them that their Jesus is an Arab, and yet those very same racists who purport to believe in God and believe in Jesus, the Son of God, they're Arab haters, and yet he was an Arab. He was an Arab Semite, just like all the Palestinians are today. And I'm not surprised that their connection to Jesus, the Son of God, isn't saving them. Like Reverend Isaac stated, no one. If he's, well, you would think that he has read up on everything that he needs to read on as a Roman Catholic priest. Why they've called him Reverend there, I don't know. He's actually Father. But it doesn't really matter. Reverend is Protestants. Protestants call themselves Reverend. Roman Catholics call themselves Father. As I say, not that it really matters anyway, because you can't be the Father, because the Father is God. That's a point. So it's like everybody's all jumping about being priests emulating God, can't do that. Not even the Pope is doing that. No. But it's a stupid, the Pope thing, created by the Romans, obviously, as in the Roman Catholic Church. Supposed to be God's representative on earth. Yeah. Yeah, some representative of God he is then, eh? Remain really silent, not even sending one, you need more than one diplomat to be sent over there. You need at least two, one as a witness to what's being said and everything. Over to Israel. But that's not who they should be talking to anyway. Not Netanyahu. He's not the organ grinder. I don't know who the hell the organ grinder is these days. The original organ grinders, of course, are down the history books. They're all dead now. Yeah. Theodore Herzl, all he wanted to do was deny the Palestinians trade so they would move out of Palestine themselves. But then he died in 1904 of a heart defect. So his asylum, being the very same Zionist group that is still up and running today in Israel for 127 years. 127 years old, that Zionist organisation is. And that was the asylum. Believe me. And when he died, Theodore Herzl, 1904, the lunatics took over that asylum. And that's where the Holocaust came from. They all held all their meetings to decide how the hell can we do this? Can we create this Zionist state and call it a Jewish homeland without any Jews in it? Because all the Jews said no to Mr. Herzl. And he didn't want it to be Zionist either. So the madmen that took over after he died knew they would have to do something really big. Something really big would have to happen in order for the world, who all knew that all the Jews said no to their Zionism and said no to their so-called Jewish homeland, which never would have been anyway, and it's not today. But they call it that anyway. The whole thing's ridiculous, man. And it was always the minute they moved in to Palestine, I mean, the next logical step by Zionist thinking was the annihilation. But Theodore Herzl didn't want to do that. He wanted just to discourage them, so encourage them to move out. He didn't want to harm a hair on their heads. And he was unwell himself. And that's where a form of Zionism came from, his illness. He was a manic depressive. And that's recorded in history. History believes that that's where his thoughts of creating a new Jewish homeland came from. His mania from his manic depression. You've got to remember, in those days there was no medication. There was no antidepressants, no drugs at all, nothing. You just had, this is why they had madhouses, and that's what it called them. And they used to lock people away. Because there was no treatments for anything. And manic depressiveness could have knocked him off his nut. But, obviously it never, but probably, I don't know. We would have had to have been there and actually spoke to the man to find out, but that's where his thoughts on a new Jewish homeland came from. Only a Zionist homeland. That's why all the Jews said no. So the madmen that took over after his death, they schemed and plotted against the Jews, who all said no, because they knew they had to do something really big. They didn't know what, and that was the only thing they could think of: the annihilation of the very people that had said no, because they were standing in the Zionist way of creating that across there, Israel. And the Jewish families that were still living over there were quickly moved out after World War II by the British government, the Labour Party. They were the British government at that particular point in history, 1946 to 1949. You should Google that one, especially if you're English and you don't like the truth. You can Google it. It's easy, I'll tell you what to type in, and you'll be surprised at this. Yeah. What the British government did after World War II, everybody thought the war was over. The war on the Jews wasn't over by the British government, not by a long shot. Type this into Google. Cyprus, UK government, UK government, Cyprus death camps. Just do it. Just humour me and do it. And you'll see what comes up. And you read it, and you read it well. But watch out, there's a few Zionist websites trying to proclaim that the Jewish people that were murdered and booted out of their own houses by the British soldiers were Zionists. No, they weren't. Where the hell? Every single last Jewish person all said no. There wasn't any that agreed. None. And that's what the British government did under Labour. They moved them all out. Some of them get murdered. And the Palestinians defended the Jewish families, which meant the Palestinians getting their heads knocked in as well. A lot of them getting killed by the British soldiers. Yeah. And the Jewish people that were left, that were still alive and never escaped, got taken over to Cyprus. 3 concentration camps, British ones, and each one had a gun turret, just like Europe. Identical. They weren't any different. And a lot of those families all died, of course, and there was a lot of families coming across from Europe to try and get back to their homeland. And the British soldiers told them, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. So they transported them also across to Cyprus, across the water to Cyprus, to those 3 concentration camps. I prefer to call them death camps, because in the end that's what happened. Most of them all died in those camps. They were only there since 1946 up until 1948, 2 years. But they died of malnourishment, neglect, starvation, diseases and things like that. Because the British government did not look after them at all. They didn't give a damn about them. Because the British government were Zionists. Unless you actually look at that history, you're never going to know, and you're never going to believe anything that you hear anyway. But this is what's happening now. It's the exact same program that was set up then that's carrying on now. And this is the conclusion, more or less, of that program. Eliminating every Palestinian that's breathing air over there. And what they call Israel. And what's now known as the West Bank and in Gaza, which is Palestine. And so is Israel, Palestine. And the whole world just sits back and watches. Just like the whole world sat back and watched the Holocaust. And there are companies involved in this at the moment. Not just, fuck's sake. There's been companies involved in this since day one. And this is why people, especially my Arab friends on Facebook, and every other Arab who lives outside of the Western world, all of those companies that deal with Israel, they've made a lot of money. They've made tons of money out of Israel. Just like tons of companies over in Europe before and during World War II made tons and tons and tons of money off of the Holocaust over there, of the Jewish people who all said no to Zionism and all said no to that fake homeland over there. And they still today, the Jewish people that weren't even born then, today's Jewish people, the real Jews that is, they still say no to it. They know what it is. Because all history has been handed down from going back in their family history. They know all the history. It's another great reason why the authentic Jews have been silenced, and the only Jews you hear are the false Jews of Israel, who are mentioned in all the holy books. The Torah, the Holy Quran, and the Roman Catholic Bible. Yeah. All the different versions of it, that is. There's only meant to be one. That's been rewritten. That's probably the Roman Catholic Bible. I'll tell you, that's probably the most rewritten book ever printed in the world. Especially when the Zionists started rewriting it and revising the history of it within the stories within it, and putting in Israel. Oh yeah, it mentions Israel in the Roman Catholic Bible these days. Always did all my life, and I didn't think anything of it when I was a little boy. But the Roman Catholic Bibles, well before the 1940s, didn't. Because there was no Israel. If we hear any Muslims stating that, they're telling the truth. There was no Israel. Israel is invented by Zionism. And the Zionists, when they've even took things down off of Google. And Google will do it like that because Google are Zionists. Of course they are. And I'm on here talking about this right now. They are. I'm not talking about all the Google workers. No. I'm talking about the people at the very top of Google. That's what I'm talking about. They know who they are. They know who they are. Just like Zuckerberg and company know who they are too. And whoever's a Zionist within TikTok knows who they are too, don't you? Yeah, that's why I'm banned from that too, from doing live streaming on there. Only because I created a live stream, and the live stream was called Support Palestine. That was it. Because I called it Support Palestine. Yeah. It's not a temporary ban though. You hear some of the people on there who are having little meetings all the time about what's going on in Gaza just now. And they're all using all these strange, stupid words, like don't mention the word kill. Don't know why. Surely God, if you say the word kill, you're not going to get banned. What they call it unaliving. I hate that. That really gets on my nerves, that is. That does. I don't know what that was, but a minute. Open AI. Open AI? Who the hell are they? Piss off. It's on my phone there. Yeah, so anyway, as far as what's going on just now is concerned, I don't know what their next step is. I don't know what will happen today, Christmas Day. I've been dreading this day because it's just like the Zionists to do something big. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, it's just a possibility. That's what Zionists are like. They're evil. They are evil. They're probably the most evil thing that humanity's ever encountered. It's Zionism, man. It's that bad. I mean, they took. I mean, the Jewish people, Jewish families built Germany since the 1400s, over 600 years. They were living there. They built Germany. They made Germany. They made Germany a great country. But in World War One, and the Russians destroyed Germany. And with that, Zionists destroyed it too. They stopped trading with Germany. That's when you knew what a country was Zionist. And that was America. And that was the UK, Britain, England, the English government. They didn't trade with Russia anyway, so it made no odds, you know. Yeah, he was Zionist too. Stalin. The Zionist fucking communist, huh? So there wasn't a lot of wiggle room for the Germans. After World War One, yeah, they built a big war machine. And as their war machine was growing over a 10-year period, even before Adolf Hitler came along, He didn't create the war machine. He helped create it after he became Chancellor. And he was the one that actually done a speech to the world, telling the world, saying to the world, we don't want war. Europe doesn't want war. Germany doesn't want war. And if it comes to it, we will dismantle our, he called it a war machine. I would say Adolf Hitler's own words, war machine. And he was talking to the world, especially America, because America, as usual, just like they are today, the ones with the biggest mouths, you know. Yeah. And the Germans, they hadn't done anything to anybody. And because of America, as usual, the Europeans were okay. All of Europe didn't want war. All of Europe, including Germany, and including the Russians even. The Russians didn't want war either, no? Even though he was a Zionist. But he wasn't letting on at the time that he was a Zionist. That's why Stalin became very good friends with a Tory, a Conservative, Winston Bloody Churchill. That's what brought those two together. A communist, proclaiming to be a socialist. Whilst next door to him, across the border in Germany, were real socialists who weren't communists. So he ended up teaming up with, that's why he teamed up with Britain, with Churchill, because, you know, both of them were on the same side there. All the Jews said no to Zionism, you know. And the world didn't want that. The Western world, that is, the British and the Americans. And the Americans and the British were trying to convince the rest of Europe to go against Germany, but they weren't going against fucking Germany. Where the hell? It didn't happen. And Theodore Herzl at the time, his Zionists were flooding Europe. And nobody knew anything about that either. Nobody knew. Yeah. Not until the big powerful Zionist businessmen, not just in Germany but around Europe, started shouting out against the Jewish people. And it wasn't just about the Jewish people in Germany, it was about any Jewish people in Europe. Roughly about 1936, can't remember exactly the year, it was roughly around 1936, all the Jews that lived in Paris were all bussed out and sent to Berlin. Nobody knew why. Nobody knew why. But somebody knew why. The people that bust them out of Paris, the Zionists, the Zionist infiltrators of their government, were the ones that bust them out. And then France was more or less officially a Zionist government, but nobody knew. Nobody knew. And they knew, of course, what they were, obviously. And it only takes one or two in the right places in a government to turn the whole government Zionist. Because the rest of the members that are not Zionists can't do anything about it. They're not in control. The people in the right positions, and the most powerful positions in the government, if they end up Zionists, then the rest of the government the whole government is considered a Zionist then. Even if most of them are not, because there's nothing they can do. They've just got to follow the Zionist lead. of that government. And that started happening more and more across Europe. Even in Germany. And that's why they tried to bomb Adolf Hitler off. And that's why he ended up in a bunker for 3 years of the war. You know what was happening then? The work program, the Holocaust. Yeah. And now you see it happening all over again. Yeah. The Israelis think they're special people. Yeah, we're people of great light. And we are fighting against darkness. Darkness. They believe that bollocks. They do. They believe in me. As far as they're concerned, as far as the Israelis are concerned, they are the people of the light. And the Palestinians are the people of deep darkness. Seriously. Yeah. I can't say what I was thinking there, but it was right in what I was thinking. It is true. And many people said it obviously offline about Israel. It is true, yeah. But general public people, ordinary people around the world, are really powerless. Even if the people of the world, civilians that is, all grew balls and physically removed all their governments all around Europe and in Britain, England, and all those governments had fallen. So there was no more support from those governments because they don't exist anymore to Israel. That won't stop Israel doing what it's doing. It will still carry on that Zionist program. And I can guarantee America will keep defending it. Anyway, so long as they've got America on their side defending them, defending their Zionism, that's all they care about. If all of Europe had to pull down all their governments on a physical level, and the British did the same, it wouldn't matter because Israel's got America. And this is why Russia won't get involved and the Chinese won't get involved. Biden already warned the Chinese off anyway. President Xi, a couple of weeks ago, President Xi went over to America and Biden warned them off. Saw the very beginnings of what Biden said to him actually on Al Jazeera. Only Al Jazeera would like to hear the beginning of the conversation. But that's all we fucking heard. They wouldn't like to hear anymore. They should have. Of course they should have. They should have left their microphones on or something. But they weren't in the room at the time. At the beginning, when Biden was talking to Xi, I just heard him saying what he said at the beginning of it, and then it all went quiet. Only because Al Jazeera was probably told to leave it in. And he was telling his eyes straight. They told us right enough what was said. Apparently Biden said to President Xi of China, they will unequivocally, America will unequivocally back Israel, even if it means the deaths of all the Palestinians, and even if it means nuclear war. That's what Biden told Xi. I don't know why Biden thought that Xi was going to attack Israel, but it's just America and they're, they're like, everybody's an enemy as far as America's concerned, Even the poor old Chinese, they've been getting it for years. Nothing wrong with China. I love the Chinese. They're great people. I don't give a shit if they're communists. So what? Well, I'm a socialist, and what have I had on my Facebook banner for years? Crimson red. So the fuck what? So what? America tends to use these things. They used to use the communist thing against Russia. Well, I don't know. Russia's never done any American any harm. Or the British for that matter. Or anybody in Europe. Unless they try to invade them, that is. Russia's always just wanted to mind its own business for thousands of years. And that's why it closed itself off to Europe. Because Europe kept trying to invade it. And they just had enough. And then Putin comes along and reopens it all up again, And brings it back up to date again. Because it was a way behind the times. Yeah. China used to be like that to a certain extent too. Getting right away back, way back. A lot of people wouldn't have went to China on holiday at one time. They probably the thought of it as they do today of North Korea. Oh no, I can't go there. You get followed about. And in China, you used to get followed about. Just like the North Koreans do with people. And just like the Russians used to do with people actually. Even when I was in high school in the 1970s, the late 70s, early 80s. Oh yeah. The KGB at the time, they used to follow people. They used to follow holiday makers. Yeah. And you weren't allowed to use a camera or anything in Russia at one point, way back then. Today, oh yeah, you can pull your camera phone out and snap away all you like. Nobody cares, Yeah. Same in China. And eventually North Korea. It'll end up the same as China eventually. You just got to leave them to their own devices. Can't interfere. Nobody interfered with China. Look at it now. Nobody interfered with Russia. Look at it now. But they knew better. Smaller countries they'll interfere with, like Arab countries and that. They don't like Arabs anyway, because they're all Zionist bastards, the whiteys. Whether it be America or Britain, or any of the EU. And that's why all the EU supports Israel. All these countries, all the EU countries, the EU Parliament as a whole, America, London, they're all singing from the same songbook. They're all acting from the same playbook. Put it that way. Probably a better way to put it. They're all the same actors in the same play. Of course, you get Putin, you get China, and you get the eastern part of the world, which Russia's in. But further east, like Japan and all that, and the Middle East, they're all one. This is what they're trying to achieve, and they all want it. All the Arabs want to be one with countries like China, Japan, Singapore, Russia. Whether the rest of Eastern Europe would become part of that, that would be a good thing if it did. But apart from obviously the parts that aren't, they would have to leave the EU to join BRICS. But that would leave the Western Europe segregated with America and Britain. And countries like the Netherlands and Denmark with them, all segregated. And that would fuck the West right up. That would totally fuck the West right up. In America, they'll probably do anything to try and stop that too. Just like they're doing everything to back up Israel to murder all the Palestinians. Because America knows it's in America's financial interests for all the Palestinians to die. When you hear any American politicians mentioning that it's in America's interests to back Israel, this is what they're talking about. Years ago, this is what they were talking about. They're talking about all the gas under Gaza and all the gas in the Sea of Gaza, which is now they call the Sea of Israel. Yeah, that's always what they're talking about. And if it wasn't for London, that wouldn't exist. That mess wouldn't be that mess today. And it was them that created that mess called America as well. Don't forget. Everywhere the English went, flying that stupid butcher's apron. Now Union Jack. They've left nothing but devastation behind. And they've never done anything that was good for any country in the world. The British. Never. And what's the Americans ever done that was good for any of the world either? Nothing. Not a thing. Nada. So much so that I just remembered about this there, actually. The French Navy and the Italians are sending military ships over to the Red Sea. But both of those countries refused to allow America to take charge of their vessels. French president said, no, our navy is remaining under our control. And the Italians are saying the same thing. What they're sending over there, I don't know. It hasn't been stated. But obviously it won't be frigates. I think the French, anyway, maybe the Italians might just send over frigates. I don't even know if they've got a destroyer. I don't know. I never really thought anything of an Italian navy, to be honest. I don't know. I don't even know if Italians get a fucking air force, you know what I mean? I don't know. But I'm holding doubt what happens over in Gaza and in the West Bank by the time today ends. Hopefully nothing bigger will happen. That's all I'm worried about. It's the slightest in us to do that. Back on Christmas Day. And do something really big. I hope not. We will see. Time will tell. Anyway, I'm out of here.